to join me in this reaction video, I bring to you our brother Islamic Calling. So, brother Islamic Calling, welcome to the show. As we have discussed, this will be both of us, our reaction to these two clowns, these two Christian clowns.
I mean, calling them clowns is like insulting the clowns. To be
Actually,
honest,
I
they're not
would
clowns,
agree
they're the
with
whole
you
circus.
to a certain extent. I would agree with you. Actually, it's an insult to the clowns themselves. A clown is there, for the purpose of entertainment, and they know what they're supposed to do. But these two clowns, they don't even know what they are doing. Okay, they really make a fool of themselves. So anyway, so what's your take on it after watching the debate? Before we go on and do our reaction, yeah.
It's a circus. I mean, like I said, these two guys, if you can even call it that, considering the cross-dressing.
Anyone who cross-dresses, any man who walks around in women's clothing is detestable to the one true God.
I've managed to squeeze this 240 pounds of awesomeness into the only garment in my wife's dresser stretchy enough to hold it.
I mean, there's something obviously wrong here.
These two, whatever they are, whatever their pronouns are. So these two individuals, and when you first sent me the debate, I didn't know what to think of it. I mean, a lot of people told me to react to it, respond to it. I thought, what is this? And when I saw it, I realized that how far behind evangelical Christians are in understanding Islam. Like, they're so far behind, they'll believe anything.
Exactly. The sole purpose is to discredit Islam. So it doesn't matter what whatever the means are, as long as it justifies their goal, which is to demean and belittle Islam, their goal is achieved. You see, regardless what the argument is. Okay, never mind. Anyway, what I wanted to address was when they first introduced when this guy introduced David Wood and Jay Smith, he called them a doctor. So my question is, a doctor in what? Yeah, I mean, we know that David Wood is an ex-con. Okay, how the hell is going to get a PhD from prison? Okay, and I know that
that's something I thought about.
Yeah, that's why I don't understand. I mean, I know that he went to university after that and he managed to get a degree. That is how he met Nabil Kaidani. But I've no idea how the hell he got a PhD. Okay, and what academic papers did he publish? And
I mean,
what
he had a hammer. You never know.
Yeah.
I decided to kill my dad, and I decided to do it in a brutal fashion, not a gunshot or anything. I was going to do it with a hammer. When I walked up to my dad, I had a hammer in my hand, and I hit him in the head.
I mean, maybe if he wants to write a thesis on how he picked someone else's head, then yeah, probably he can have a doctorate in that. But 90. Okay, let me just play this.
Debunk one of the most astounding pseudo-scholarly conspiracy theories the world has ever seen. Why should we be Muhammad realists in spite of the challenge from Muhammad mythers like Jay? There are many reasons to believe that the Muhammad of Islam existed. Here my opening statement. I'll give 3. First, Muslim sources report a number of embarrassing facts about Muhammad that wouldn't have been invented by conspirators creating a fake prophet for their new religion.
Okay, notice, okay, you don't mind if I stop here? I just want to comment on this. Sure. Yeah, so he's actually, he already, right from the beginning, he's already implying that the prophet was a fake prophet. You see the words that he used, the terminology he uses to implant it into his audience's mind. So from the beginning, everyone is already having the perception that the prophet was a fake prophet. See?
Yeah.
So one thing about David is that he's very clever with words. So he tries to manipulate. Of course, he has a degree in philosophy. So that's how he comes.
I don't know if he has a degree on philosophy. That's like a logical fallacy.
Let's assume that he has one, right? because that's what he says. Okay, so let's
Yeah.
assume he has one. So if he does, then it explains why he can, manipulate, people's minds and insert certain words into his. I mean, he's trying to make just a casual remark here, but the way that he presents it, if you listen to it carefully, if you're not careful with the way that he says it, you will get influenced by him. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, the way that he says it, psychologically, it can influence you. Okay.
Yeah.
So so the guy is very devious and very, very manipulative with words, just like Paul. Okay. Just like Paul, the false apostle. The most obvious false apostle in history. Okay. Okay, because that's what David likes to say about the prophet, right? He likes to say that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the most obvious false prophet in history. But me,
Absolutely.
I am saying that Paul of Tarsus is the most obvious fake apostle in history. Okay, so anyway, so you want me to continue again or anything else?
Yeah, sure.
You
Continue.
want to comment? Nothing
I
to
want to
comment?
comment, but I want to comment at the end of it. I want to
Alright,
play it a little
okay.
bit.
All right, okay.
This point is grounded in what historians call the principle of embarrassment or the criterion of embarrassment. The idea here is that when people lie and invent things to support their position, they tend to invent things that help their cause, not things that hurt their cause. When someone admits something that makes his position look bad or foolish, he's probably not making it up, because he wouldn't invent something that's an embarrassment to his cause. So when we examine testimony, we can ask ourselves, is this the sort of thing someone would make up? If it's not the sort of thing someone would make up, we have at least some reason to believe that the testimony is accurate. Applying this principle to the Muslim sources, if people are going to fabricate stories about Muhammad because they're inventing a new religion, they're obviously going to fabricate stories that make Muhammad look good. They're not going to fabricate stories that make Muhammad look stupid or insane or evil or possessed.
Okay.
Let's
Well,
stop here. Yeah. I think we can. Okay, I'll let you comment first, and then I will say a few things as well.
Yeah, okay. So this whole principle of embarrassment thing is one of the dumbest Christian principle that I've ever
Yes.
seen.
Yes,
Okay,
exactly.
so let me
This is
just
something which biblical scholars use. That's why.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is one of the dumbest thing I've ever seen, and one of the most logically fallacious things I've ever seen.
Exactly.
Because and basically what this is like a fallacy of non sequitur, right? Because you have this like idea that just because something is embarrassing doesn't mean it's either true or false. Like embarrassment itself doesn't say anything.
Exactly.
Like for example,
Exactly.
something maybe, and the thing is, for example, I may think that the fact that Jesus died on a cross is very embarrassing, right? A God dying almost naked on a cross. That's embarrassing.
Yes. Very
Right.
embarrassing.
However, just because I think that doesn't mean that Christians think that,
Yes.
right?
True.
So the point is, like, this is completely subjective. Like, what is embarrassing is not defined. Like, what is
Yes.
embarrassing is completely subjective. So you
I
cannot
mean, it
say
depends.
that
It depends on
something.
the worldview of that particular people or culture of
Yeah,
that
yeah.
people, right?
There's
Yeah,
one
sure.
point that I forgot to add, which is that,
Yeah, sure.
for example, let's take this like story of like Jesus dying on a cross,
Right.
and so basically, imagine I employ this whole principle, right? The principle of embarrassment.
Okay.
If I employ that, what happens? I think that this is embarrassing that Jesus died, right?
Yeah.
So therefore, it's true. Now imagine that back in the day, Christians didn't think that, so they
Yeah.
thought that Jesus dying is a heroic thing.
Yeah.
So if they didn't think that, then they could have made it up because they thought it's a heroic thing. So me applying this principle leads me to a false belief, a false
Exactly.
conclusion.
Exactly.
So it's impossible to know what's embarrassing for who, because we don't know people's
Yeah,
intent.
it's very in the end, it's very subjective because we don't know what is
Yeah, yeah.
embarrassing for people and what is not. You see,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
the whole point. So this so-called argument from embarrassment is a silly science lah. It's something that cannot be used as a yardstick to determine whether a story is true or false. In Islam, we have a different methodology, okay, for determining whether the stories are true or false. But this guy, he's using is simply using an argument which biblical scholars often use, but he tries to apply it to Islam and it's inapplicable because in Islam, our the way we collect our traditions and how we relate our history is totally different from how Judeo-Christianity is. You see, so it doesn't work. It's like trying to fit a square peg into a circle. Yeah, it's like that.
Yeah.
So it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. But but you know, these people are so desperate for they're so desperate for attention and so desperate to find points against Islam. That's why they resort to these such tactics. Okay.
Yeah. So
And
it
then
doesn't prove anything.
Yes, and also another thing I want to add is that this statement of he assumes that, you know, we Muslims would record anything that would not be an embarrassment to the Prophet positively, and you know, if something that is positive will always be true to us, but that is not true, right? Because you know, there is certain hadith which puts Islam in a positive light, but we reject those hadith because those hadith are found to be faulty or have a false isnad. Like for example, there's this famous hadith. The Prophet says that so-called, I mean, it's alleged, okay? The so-called hadith says that the Prophet said that you must study as far as wide as possible, even to China. Okay, this is a very famous hadith, which is a fake, false hadith that has been circulated in the Muslim world. But this hadith, even though it casts the Prophet in a positive light, because it tells people to learn, to study, even to the far reaches of China. But this story is this hadith is considered false because the isnad is not known and it cannot be traced to the Prophet. So what is David talking about? I mean, it doesn't mean that a positive story a Muslim will accept it 100%. It doesn't mean an embarrassing story a Muslim will reject it 100% or we accept it 100% either. I mean, just because it's embarrassing, it doesn't mean that a Muslim will accept or reject it. Like what you said, because we base our sciences on whether, or we base something on whether a story is true or false based on isnad, based on the not just the matan but also the isnad. Okay, and this is some kitab al-rijal. Okay, and this is something which Christians do not have. That is why when you read the Bible, you see a lot of ridiculous things. Okay, like for example,
By the
Matthew.
way,
Okay.
also another thing is, I think one of the people pointed out is that people could make up embarrassing stories to cover something even more embarrassing. This is another problem that I think one scholar pointed out.
Yes, exactly.
And another thing I want to point, like imagine we apply this criteria to whatever, right? Let's say, you know, in the end of like Spider-Man 1, spoilers by the way, Spider-Man gets beat the hell up by Green Goblin, right? That's embarrassing for Spider-Man. Does it mean that Spider-Man is real? Does it mean everything that happened in Spider-Man is real?
Yeah, exactly. Is everything that happened in No Way Home real? I mean, you know, the multiverse is real. And also it's an embarrassment for Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man because he couldn't save his girlfriend Gwen, right?
Yeah,
Gwen
spoilers.
died, right?
Yeah.
He died in Amazing Spider-Man 2, right? So is that event true? Is Gwen Stacy real? You see, so it's a totally
nonsense.
It's a total fake science. It's fake science. It's just a fake science. It's not a criterion for anything.